impacted mental health. So some cultural thoughts, beliefs that have either a negative impact or
So my family's from Barbados. So when it comes to mental health or therapy, even in my own experience, I struggled as a child. I have a learning disability. I have attention deficit disorder, so that means I can't sit still for shit. How schools are set up, there was a school psychologist in which they were like, she needs to go get evaluated. And so my mother took me and literally told the psychiatrist, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. My child ain't nothing wrong with she just lazy and don't want to listen, right? That was her response. And so I struggled my entire time in school, which caused a lot of conflict within my family. And what I realized is that a lot of times mental health is looked at as a failure. You're failing at something, right? And a lot of times, particularly parents, and I use this as an example because they're quite a source of a lot of my trauma that I've been healing from. So it is a failure, they feel it's a failure to them as well. And so redirecting, as you brought up, of it not being a supernatural thing, something being wrong with you, but an ability to be self-aware of you and be emotionally intelligent of what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, what your needs are. And I think having positive conversations about that with your family from a Caribbean background enhances their ability to learn, become engaged, and they will in their own time. And I feel that, especially if you are a clinician and practicing, you should be in therapy. And like I was mentioning to you earlier, therapy is very similar to dating, right? Sometimes it goes off without a hitch, right? And sometimes you're like, well, I don't really know about this one, right? So I feel that Q and Ben are gonna be breaking up real soon. But it doesn't mean that you stop trying, right? It doesn't mean that you don't put yourself back out there because there is a need that needs to be met. So the positive aspects about it is, one, educating the ones that you love, right? Information is key and is powerful, but again, it's up to when people want to invoke it and use it. And also unlearning some of the things that you've been taught growing up, right? Oh, this is a failure. Oh, I'm not doing so well. Oh, it must be me. Oh, I'm feeling anxious about something. This must be a wrong feeling. No, it's a natural reaction to what you are experiencing, and there are ways of channeling that, but I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with you. So definitely language.
I think one of the things that I'm from Trinidad. So all of these things I think impact us on the internalized level, and as Takai and my colleagues are saying, unless we deal with that fear or whatever that internal mechanism that's blocking us and identifying what it is, we're going to be hard pressed to do it.
Thank you. Definitely some great points that came up in that conversation. Anybody else? Just want to make sure I don't lose anything. Yeah, so what are, sorry, that's, you're right. What are some cultural practices, right, and beliefs that have either negatively or positively impacted the Caribbean culture?
I guess I want to touch on what was said before about, where am I from the Bronx, and my family's from Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico!
I'm going to touch on what was said before about families sweeping things under the rug and keeping quiet. So there's a lot of that. I have some contentions with elders often, and folks who hold those sort of stations of respect. Because there's a lot of conversations that hit a dead stop when you bring up respect, right? When you bring up things that are plaguing your family, if you speak up on or advocate for yourself, it's why are you talking to me? You have to, respect your elders. You don't talk about it, be about it, and it's often if we as like a community want to like break these like sort of stigmas, it's sort of having to contend with those like ingrained like figures who don't want these conversations to happen, or like more comfortable like putting blinders on. But then it involves like a lot of like really terrible feelings that come up for yourself. So nobody wants to tell your grandma that she's being hella toxic. Don't talk to you like that. Like, that's not an easy thing to do. Saying that to your brother, saying that to your auntie. It's like,
Getting the shoe come off.
yeah.
What'd you say?
I mean, like, well, yeah, look at there.
I just wanted to add to the point where like our parents and our grandparents' generation, watch this, us, right? I'm 38, right? I have access to this thing called the internet to like look up mental health. Imagine your mom, your dad, and your grandparents. They never had any kind of conversations about taking care of yourself with mental health. So when you try to have conversations with the elder generations, it's gonna be a little bit tough. It's just, you have to have a little patience with them and just have sympathy that like, I understand that you may not get me, but, try to bring them along. But as I said, man, we have this thing called the internet. I could look up mental health. I could look up Reforum Consulting. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, they never had any of that. So be appreciative of what you have and also understand what they didn't have. So that's about it, all right? Thank you.
That's a valid point. I know my family, they told us to just pray it away. So that's another thing we heard in the community, just take it to church, take it to church. Does anybody in the crowd have any questions, anything sitting on your heart that you might want to, let me bring you the mic. Hello, how are you? I want to make sure everyone hears.
Hi, I heard all of you talk a little bit about family trauma, right? Dealing with the elders, voodoo, and listen, my family's from Barbados as well. My grandmother, my best friend's dad passed away, and my grandmother's response was, all right, don't go upset yourself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how mental health and in our community right? But I don't know that I'm hearing the tools that you all have used. It sounds like you've had success in varying scales. Okay? But like, what were the actions of the day? Also cook, clean, and did all of that. My person did that. Well, would you have done it differently if you could have done it differently? And usually their response is yes. Right. Was it right that you had to work 25 hours, 7 days a week, with no breaks, with 5 children, and doing everything by yourself? Is that how you would want that? No. Okay. Is that something you would want for me? No. And that brings the dialogue and open conversation, right? Posing questions, right, means that you're not on defense. That means that you are having the ability to want to learn and want to understand that other person's perspective, but also maintaining your view, but allow them to see where their thinking is coming from, especially when it comes to the elderly. They want that respect because they've earned it. And I mean, for me, that's why I want to work with older because I have every intention of getting old and being respected as well, right? So I give them that, right? They have excel in ways. I'm the first person to have 3 degrees, let alone 1. And I'm very proud of that, but it was based upon the efforts that they made. So I will never discount that, but if I want them to understand my experience, my view, I have to honor what they have, but also pose questions of how they wish for my life to be. Because every parent, I want the conversation to continue. Anyone want to add to that?
Is this particularly about the elderly?
Your elders.
Okay.
Your parents, your grandparents.
I don't really want to speak on the elder part. Somebody said I'm Bayesian. I'm not Bayesian. I'm from Jamaica.
The only island that exists is Haiti. No,
I remember when I first started having dialogue with my mother about some of our experiences and trying to open up. In response, I got, so you mean I didn't try? You mean I didn't care about you? Like, well, not exactly, right? And what I saw at that point was her trying to exactly, I think what André was saying, process through her Windows 98 mind what Bluetooth was, right? And having some space to understand that. It was like, when we're talking to our elders, we are introducing something to them, and we really have to be patient with them in understanding like what we're looking to get out of them. Just like how their vision for us didn't probably manifest the way they wanted it, how we want them to respond to what we're opening up to won't be the same. So if we meet in the middle, I think that's when we have great compromise. So my suggestion is, or like how I processed it, even though the conversation was not successful, not even in the first 10, in the first couple of years, these conversations weren't successful, to the point where today, those years of practice got us to a place of being able to communicate. On the same page, in the same chapter, right? But at least we've gotten better, continue to work on getting better.
Real quick, Vicky and Tia had mentioned, what is the way that you get your peers to like talk about mental health? Or so like anybody who knows me a little bit, I speak a lot online on my Instagram page. For 5 years, every Monday I do something called Monday Motivation to Stay Present. I just stop before I go to work and I just talk what's on my mind. And people are like, why are you stopping and talking? It's just sometimes you just gotta let things out. Communication is so important. I'm here as I don't have a degree, I'm an accountant. So I don't have a background in mental health, but I'm an advocate that like to tell people, hey, go see therapy, go see a therapist, go see a counselor, go see a psychiatrist. I'm so big on it. So what I always do is I said, your peers, all your peers use social media. If you use social media, right? Talk. Just say, hey guys, what's going on? Everything all right? This is what I did today. You know, I went to the park, took a walk, looked at the ducks, looked at the turtles. Like stuff like that. I mean, it's all about bringing other people in. And I'm just saying. Hey, I'll say this. If you ever go to the park, Prospect Park is right here, and you're ever stressed out, you cannot be stressed if you look at a turtle or a duck. Just go and look at a duck.
He loves the ducks.
I don't know. You can't stress out. So nature, mental health, take care of it. Take care of it and just talk to your friends. You know what I mean?
Thank you. I love nature. Old folks. Yeah. Wise folks.
Right, old, wise, and wisdom. But they're imperfect, right? Because no one's perfect. So I have been tasked for many years of getting older adults to engage in therapy and counseling, right? And one of the resources and services that my organization offers is brief counseling, right? It's about 8 sessions over the course of 2 months to get a feel for therapy. And so I have to convince people who have been...
Symptom of our culture is we rely too much, not on mental health professionals and doctors, but on faith, and there has to be a balance. And I think there's a real issue that we're having. I'll tell you a personal situation. In 2016, I went through a depression. Went through a lot. I had suicidal ideations. And my aunt and my mom, before I even started to go to therapy, I knew something was wrong with me. My head was right. They took me to their church and the pastor prayed over me for an hour. And I'm sitting there like, this is not what that means. But it's okay, they tried. That goes back to the differences between our generation. And then I went to therapy and things got better and I saw a psychiatrist and I found out the root cause of my trauma. But at the end of the day, I'm like, my grandmother, God bless her soul, rest in peace, she was like, do not go to the doctor. What? I just pray to Jesus. Everything will be right. Jesus is, I get it, but there has to be a bigger conversation.
I'm still being in a really bad way because your therapist can't answer everything for you, right? And so, sorry, I'm like hijacking the panel, but I was listening to it and immediately you said that, and I remember my grandmother, my grandparents, flawed as they may be, she would say this to me all the time: faith without words is death. You cannot just want something, hope for it, and wish for the best. You really do have to work. God gave us hands, you believe it or not, right? Hands and feet and breath in your body and life, and every morning that you wake up is another opportunity to be a better version of yourself. And when you get into that mental health space now, it is for those who want it can be a very beautiful period.
Yeah, I'll share myself. My self-care Sundays starts with therapy at 10:30 and church at 11:30. I feel like I need both, and it's what I need. So put in my 2 cents, but I know you wanted to add something.
Yeah, I really like what you said, because one of the things that I learned is every last one of us here has faith in something. Everybody here took a seat, I guarantee you took a seat and you didn't check if the bolts were working. So every last one of us has some type of level of faith where you believe. So it got the job done. I'm sitting and I'm not falling, right? So each and every one of us, we take a level of faith when it's time for us to try to fix something in our life or to accomplish something, right? We all, if you do go out and you see some type of mental health, you have enough faith to believe maybe it might not be done in 1 session, maybe it might not be done in 10, maybe I'm gonna have to commit my entire life to this, but I believe enough that if I continue to go, something will change, right? And like, I know one of the panelists was speaking on, like, you know, sometimes you look at the growth in your parent, right? Like, sometimes I want to get upset that my mom didn't come to none of my games, none of whatever. She just didn't have the mental capacity to get it. But to see her do it for my little brother or my nephew, I see the growth in it. Right, so.
Thank you, that's a valid point.
Alright, so I will say, I wanted that the community start checking the messenger around, I would talk about organized religion. For example, I already know who knows the IK Church, on Lafayette St. James. And the reason why I joined Emmanuel, not because of the actual profession. So there's a mental health enrollment, it's going to be an administrator at our church. Those ministries are there to actually do the work. Even down to the trustee board, the lady who worked for Wall Street is actually the trustee of that committee. So like just checking the people who are doing the work in the organized religion and not just going off like, you know, community. And most of the time in these small churches, like a small church, those people don't have the educational background to do what we used to do. That those churches are good for our parents because it's good for them. There are thousands of churches or organized religion churches in the world, and just finding the one space for you at the end of the day. So I think just allowing ourselves to dig deeper into the actual person for the community organizations, community gatherings of sorts.
I think a lot of times when we pray for things, we think it's just a divine intervention and just mysteriously happens. And it's not we're not blessing the people to put them in that position. We're not blessing the Reforum Consulting for giving you the tools to do it. We're not appreciative of the therapists who've been blessed in order to give you the tools to fix the things in your life. And again, this conversation me and André has had in the past, whatever. We're not blessing the scientists to create things that help make pandemics better or whatnot. We just think that things are just going to pray to go away. And I think that's the thing of religion that we have to take in, is that sometimes it's not about just things magically disappearing. It's about literally the God or the Creator that we have faith in is going to provide the humans that are on this planet to give them the tools, give them the knowledge, give them the confidence in order to make things better. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that just magically goes away. So again, when we get to that point where we have a few, you touched on that. I just think that's a super important aspect to all of this, and I think that really holds us back because we get, again, my family is from the Caribbean. I just spent a week in Jamaica with T and Vicky at a wedding.
I was not in Jamaica. I was
Correction, if the boss is coming around, she was at work. But as the influence of the Caribbean culture I do have, my great grandparents was born in Barbados, so I don't have that direct grandmother. I got a couple of influences, a couple of codfish, a couple of soca songs, whatever. But, you know what I mean? But I I know how it is, especially when it's tied into religion, and it's like we can't always pray everything away without doing the work and without allowing people to have being blessed to provide opportunities for us to get better. So that's pretty much what I'm saying.
I also feel like something that we have to pay attention to is context. So we know that in the past 2 generations, from the Caribbean to Africa and the diaspora, our people have made a lot of progress. So our grandparents and great-grandparents, all they had was religion. And that religion was also based in control. That's all they had. They didn't have any other resources. Our parents had a growing amount of resources, and we are really the first of our generation in time to reach a critical mass to have certain freedoms and certain access to certain things. So I think that we always have to remember context, because that allows us to have compassion and empathy for them. Because I think, to me, my parents are from Grenada, and we were raised Catholic. During the pandemic, they stopped going to church but started praying as a group. And during that group, that's when they started having conversations about like the priests and the rapes and the cover-ups. And that's when my grandma admitted, like, yeah, in the past, any priest that was accused of rape in America was sent to the Caribbean or sent to Africa. And they continue to do it. And now there are known priests in the Caribbean that have tons of kids. But when we look at the church, who's the church? It's single mothers. And so when you look at the direct correlation and the pain of that, like my grandma grew up without her mom. She was a house girl. She grew up taking care of someone else's kids for her entire life until she got pregnant and wasn't considered worthy to do that work anymore. But I always think that when we like talk about religion, it's all some people have. But at the same time, my grandma didn't understand her religion until during the pandemic when she was allowed to question and understand that the text is poems, and understanding that it's not just scripture to be memorized and regurgitated, but to be applied to your life where it is. And I think that that's the hard part of our generational gap at times, is I'm gonna see things from my position, and they're seeing things from their position, but some of them haven't given themselves permission to question. And I think that's important. And another comment that I would like to make about, I think we had a conversation about sometimes when you talk to your parents, it's met with anger or resistance. Anger is is the representation of an unmet need. And so it's defensiveness because there isn't always an answer to the question you have, and sometimes it's too heavy. And so I think you also spoke about the power of like incest and the fact that like it's present in the Caribbean. I think another thing I talk about all the time is like actually knowing your family, because my parents and grandparents, people were left with other people that were not biologically theirs. And people don't think about the trauma of what happens when you don't know your family. Like my last name is because my grandma gave it to me. It has nothing to do with the lineage of who she belonged to and who my dad belonged to and who my mom belonged to. And so when you think about that, and you think about the trauma that comes with that, of like not being wanted by your parents and creating your own last name, there's like layers that they don't talk about. And so I think in the Caribbean as a whole, one of the things that I hope we could do is like,
your past did not define who you are. It will never will be. Whatever your family did in the dark is not you, right? Do not carry their baggage on you, right? And I think that's one thing, even me, I was born and raised Catholic, I'm still in a Catholic faith. My daughter's having confirmation this weekend, so, you know.
Can I go?
Yeah, of course. You know. But I started to change that narrative and religion in my house because my son, who did everything, did altar server, everything from the Catholic. And he told me, he said, you know what? This is not me. I said, what you mean? He said, no, that's what they taught us. They taught grandma, granny, everybody. I can't relate to that. He said, my faith and my heart will save me and open every gate that I will get to when I go to whoever made me. So I'm like, oh, okay, boy, it's okay. No problem. I said, Mom, after confirmation, I'm going. I said, no problem. That's something I certainly learned. And Mom said, I said, no, I want you to tell me how you feel about this. She said, can I tell you? Because I'm just embarrassed. Because this is what they taught me. I said, who taught you? She said, my mom, my grandaunt. Who taught them? So now we're going back. She said, you know what? let me take a moment. I said, when you're ready, we will have that conversation, but just remember, mommy, this didn't make you, and it did not make us. So I think like religion and spirituality is heavy, especially in the Haitian community, because we have to separate in both. Catholic Church, Baptist, Protestant, and also we have voodoo as well, right? So I have to tell mommy, well, remember when Columbus got lost, you didn't understand, we just got lost, right? So when you got lost, right, all people said, you know, let's go back to what we know is music. Whoever we got from music and the drum and everything, why not? And now it's sad to say, voodoo is a beautiful thing, right? But some of us will use it to get for their own advantage.
The same thing with
other religions as well, right? And it's something that, you know, I tell people, just embrace where you come from. Embrace it. Embrace your journey. Doesn't matter where it takes you. Just embrace it. Because everything is about the process where you get where you're supposed to get. And yeah, like I said, voodoo is another topic. I don't know much about it. I just know about some you know, that which one, whatever people say. You know, I'm like, oh, okay, you know. And I tell mommy, I said, listen, other people, I said, listen, it's okay to light your candle, and your candle could just be for you, to give yourself grace for the day. It don't have to be for all the saints, all the spirit. It could just be for you, right? So, yeah, that was just my I love it.
To add to that, I think one of the issues with our history with religion within our community, the Black diaspora as a whole, is how it's been used to like stifle the oppression, right, that we've been under, right? So in today's world where we're trying to be more spiritual or trying to find something more ancestral and connected to us, there is the stigma that we're not allowed to explore our spirituality, whether it be because we herald intellectuality as more important, or you know, we're jaded by our own experiences with our spirituality and religion, but being able to break that stigma and to connect with something that's very natural to you, right? We have faculties, unlike any other things on this planet, to connect psychologically, and it's been shown in many ways that there are ways that our spirituality manifests things in terms of our ability to rejuvenate health, our psychological wiring. Spirituality really has great health benefits, but we need the freedom to explore, as what's been said, what it means to us as individuals, and not upholding some cultural or societal expectations. So if you're Christian and one day you say, I want to study Islam, but is my family going to be looking at me sideways? Am I going to go deeper into my African spirituality that sounds like you're doing voodoo or you're putting curses on people, but has that been a vehicle for civilization to demonize things that were already natural to us? To put us into this place of mind control by having white-facing gods, or you know, things that tell us, in today's world, you will not find prosperity. You have to find it in the afterlife. When we can reconcile with those things, then we can really reconnect with something that's owed to us personally.
Stay present.
Yeah. Stay present. One time, stay present.
Yeah, man. No, real quick, I didn't listen. I could go into the stay present thing all day, but she said something that I just wanted to say upon, to touch upon, where we're always on the right path. Every single one of us. We all led to this path to be here with Reforum Consulting, and what that means is, yeah, along the way you faltered, but you're here, and if you're here, you're on the right path. So it's only gonna get better because we live in this society of like community. You know what I mean? Like we're here to talk about mental health within the Caribbean. We have a Jamaican, a Trini, Haitian, Puerto Rican, Asian, and the guy, the camera guy, he's African. You know what I mean? It's like we're all black people, and we're all here. So thank you. I'm just saying personally, thank you. But we're always on the right path. Okay?
I love that. Yeah. So I did We're gonna do everybody. Closing remarks. Everybody, be ready.
So, my thoughts about religion and spirituality is I'm glad that you brought up organized religion. Many of the religious texts are some of the moral attributes that we all have, right? Being kind, being aware of your neighbor, right? It's a form of discipline, right, that guides us in our moral compass. So I do understand the context of religion being very, very important. And in growing up, I tapped into more spirituality, one, because I'm a rule challenger by nature. But I understand that those principles were the same foundations of some of the aspects of therapy and counseling now, right? Think of Bible study, what is that? That's a support group. That's the first support group, right? So we can't knock religion, yes. It does, with anything, it comes with its good and its ill intent usage, right? And believing that those principles were meant for good and how it's applicable in your life is up to you. And I understand that spirituality allows you never to have things about boxes. I don't like to sit in anything and just be solely about that, right? So I feel that spirituality allows us to bloom and flourish our guiding principles. And when it comes down to talking about mental health awareness, it goes hand in hand, right? So have these guiding principles, right? Same way I went to school, I studied, I understood the concepts in theory. A lot of them have been researched and then said, hey, it's not actually that, right? And it's the same about the text, especially about the Bible, Quran, and people question it for a reason, right? They're evolving their way of thinking, but it's still the guiding principles, and we still respect those because we know where we came from, we know our foundation. So I want to say that believe in whatever you wish, right? It doesn't mean that you have to pick up the Quran, doesn't mean you have to pick up the Bible, doesn't mean you have to, but understand the text was there as a way to guide us, right? And you take what you wish, and you make it applicable, in your own individuality, make it applicable, right? It's just words on paper unless you make it something. So I wanted to end that with the aspect of faith and mental awareness. I think that we're all here because it's important to us, right? We believe in that. That's faith, right? We're here. I think that being respectful, even with having the mic, goes in the context of knowing like what is respectable in certain settings, right? And I just think that every one of us has a responsibility to be, one, self-aware, but also providing context and information. You don't have to have all the answers, and you're not in charge of how someone uses that. But this is a way of networking, understanding what's important to you, what's important to me, and seeing how we can collaborate and network together in the future. So I am happy and blessed that I have met each and every one of you here. And I thank you all for this opportunity. And I'm hoping to see you well, healing, and beautiful, wonderful people again.
I want to echo that. I am very grateful to be here today to have these conversations. One thing that I would like to leave with is we need to keep having these conversations with each other. We're having this amongst ourselves. We've talked about like how do we have these conversations with our friends and families and our communities. And I think that we can have tools in our back pocket, but there's always going to be an element of like challenge there. Of that, like, the idea of that, like, twisty stomach feeling, that's never gonna, like, go away. And I just challenge everyone here to keep having those conversations in a positive way, even when it feels kind of gross to have it with those family members or such. Like, the only way we can, like, sort of change or push the culture is to keep having those conversations with folks. And, you know, check your tone, check your language, but, like, have it anyway. Like, do it. Even if it comes out the wrong way, if you don't have the tools, if you don't have it, like, do it. Like, if an elder is challenging you, challenge them back. They've had a long time to sit in that way. You know, you can say respectfully, but, you know, some folks are going to take challenge to whatever you say, even if you say it the most respectful way you can. So it's like, you can say it the kindest way, but people are going to take that as a challenge to their whole worldview that they've sat in for decades. So, you know, do what you gotta do, but like say your piece and advocate for yourself, and like let's keep this this conversation going.
Yes.
I'm grateful. Thank you to Reforum to reach out to me. Give yourself grace, always. When you wake up in the morning, set the tone of the day. You know? Give yourself grace. Also be aware of who you are, and also learn about yourself so you'll be able to help other people in this journey as well. You know? It could be a little bit difficult when you start to learn who you are. Yeah. So that's
good. I love y'all. I love my melanated people. My brothers in here, I love y'all. Real talk. My sister in here, I love y'all too. Like, this is real talk coming from my spirit. If I saw you in traffic and you cut me off, I might have had some choice words for you. If you stepped on my J's, then something's gonna happen afterwards. But no, I really do love y'all. And the reason why I say that is we didn't ask to be here. The Irishmen, the Swedish, the Scots, and the Englishmen, they don't come together and have to have meetings like this. But the Jamaican, the Haitian, the Trini, the Bajan, the Puerto Rican, the African, the Grenadian, all of us have to come together because we have one unified history that ties us together and a document that says it doesn't matter where y'all came from, y'all all have the same purpose. So it's up to us to take up that charge. Don't believe the fake news that's on the internet. We do not hate each other as much as the internet and TMZ in the world would lead us to believe.
That's a fact.
We ain't on shit timing like ABC 7 News or Channel 11 News that perpetuates us as the criminals that we see each other often as. We are not these things. So the more that we can try to lessen this indoctrination that I know I'm oppressed by, when I walk out of here, I'm gonna grill somebody in my block when I get home. Not because I want to. In my head, I hate that shit so bad. But because it is a guttural response, and that's why I want to take this opportunity to let y'all know I love y'all. And the more that we can do that and tell somebody else, it could be somebody that you know on the block, it could be a head nod, it could just be okay with looking at a black person in the eye. Let's try to desensitize ourselves and bring that unity that I know that our foreparents started. And like you said, we're not here by mistake. Our foreparents, the people who had to break down walls and have great dreams for us to get here, they did it with community. So let's keep the community that got us here right now, let's keep that going. I love y'all.
Okay, that was really great. First, let me big up Reforum Consulting. Big up T, J, and Timey.
Every time.
No, T, there's T and J. I mean Vicky. Big up Pich Restaurant. Big up Black Home Restaurant. They want to gentrify like crazy, but as long as we have places like this, that's going to be the bedrock of our culture. We ain't going nowhere. That's not paid for it.
I'm the only female owner.
Hey! So, I'm André Gunter. I'm Instagram André Guns too. At the One Love Chronicles, I have like a little travel blog, that business thing. I just wanted to share this like my little secret and nugget to life. Like my mental health is so good. It's like peak. I had a good time off over the pandemic. A lot of people's mental health got messed up with the pandemic. Some people flourished, some people went back, some people flourished. Mine flourished. So I do this thing called I stay present all the time. If I ever get flustered, if I ever get stressed out, I stop. I look, see my boy fall over here. What do I hear? I hear my nice voice. What do I feel? Nice pants you got here. Smells like good cooking that Pich is doing. Right? You know what I'm saying? What do I feel? I feel this nice mic. So when you do that, you get out of your head and you get in the present moment. Because a lot of the problems is always in your head. Like somebody tell you, all right, somebody at work, your supervisor at work, like, yo, tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, be in the office. You're like, oh shit. Like, I'm gonna get fired, your head is rattling, and then it could be like the greatest thing that happened that night, but you missed out on it because you're stressing out about work. But when you get to work, he's like, oh, here's a raise. I'm like, oh shit, so what was I stressing for? So you always have to keep it today, forget about tomorrow, forget about yesterday, all right? Thank you for everything. I appreciate being here. And if you stay present, if you smell what the guns is doing.
Follow him, no, for real, follow him. Because he really is
Don't follow him.
a mental health.
Elevate that. But it looks like
like I did get some questions. It looks like we're gonna have to collaborate with Pich for another time to come out and have another conversation. But ultimately, and I do want to honor your question. It was just really just about self-care. And I know I love self-care. But really being able to navigate what are unhealthy self-care practices or unhealthy practices versus practices that folks are doing for self-care. So versus the 8 dimensions of wellness that we elevated, but then also when folks feel like they have to use drugs or oversex or overindulge or oversmoke or do things that way. So anybody have thoughts? Really quickly, so we want to respect everybody's time, but I definitely want to honor it.
No worries.
Tools of self-care.
Tools of self-care?
Yeah.
Like,
knowing what positivity looks like for you, right? So right now I'm on a healthy wellness fitness journey. Woo! And right now all my triggers are right in front of me. I smell the fried chicken, I smell the oil, I smell the grease. But it's not healthy, right? Because I'm an emotional eater, right? So when I'm sad or depressed, I want all the foods that are not good for me, and which, then evolves my body. So I know that I have to focus and be disciplined on the things that actually have good outcomes and positive outcomes. So my goal for this year, I'm turning 35, and I want to be under 200 pounds, right? That's my goal, right? If it says 199.95 or if it says 197, that doesn't matter as long as it's under 2, that's my goal. And it's the first time that I'm taking time for myself. I can easily, because even as indulging and stimulating as some of the things may be, just be aware of it. How much of it you're engaging in, right? What you're gaining from it, right? What is it giving you, right? I love, like I said, I smell this grease. It smells amazing, but I know I can't just have one chicken wing.
I cut off almost 8 o'clock.
Mine is 9, so I got 20 minutes to wrap this up. But, like being aware of what am I getting in this moment? Is it self-gratification I'm looking for, or am I looking for something for a long-term growth?
does that answer your question?
Talk to yourself, big yourself up, get some of the ads. And I think Omari mentioned earlier, Reforum Consulting has a wellness directory now. So if you're looking for podcasts, if you're looking for Instagram pages, places to go get psychotherapy, anything else, it'll be in that directory. So that's another tool that you can use. Make sure you sign up on our email chain so we can email you and keep the conversation going. But we have come to an end. Alright, well, we want to thank our panelists for coming and being a part of the conversation. Takai, Q, and Omari. Well, what's your name now? And Gunter, we thank you so much for being here and being a part of the conversation. We want to thank you all, the audience members, for being here, being a part of the conversation. Stay up for yourself. You do not have to be here tonight or your pain. And that's an investment in your mental health and your self-care as well. So if you're not following us on social media, make sure you follow us on all social media platforms. We are on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Reforum Consulting. We have conversations around mental health and wellness, as well as professional development. So you have to have this at work as well, right? Call Reforum. We can do it. You don't have to listen to the Reforum radio no more. So call us. But yes, we want to thank you all for coming. If you have not yet, please support the bar. Get a drink, get some wings, get some fries, get something that Takai can't have. Have it for her. Let's support her, okay? Vicariously eating. I'm going to vicariously eat that way for you. So, I just want to end our night with a quick ritual. Did you have anything to say?
Yeah, just really quickly.
There is some more mental health placemats left on your tables when we're talking about extending a conversation to loved ones and friends. Sit down with your family members and your friends and do a competition, maybe do a challenge, and this could be a very passive way to start the conversation as well. So definitely want to thank you all, and we actually did not start with our quote, but we do quotes as part of our rituals, so we will end with one.
All right. All right, so just taking the tone with the closing quote, we have, if you can set the tone in your home or in your workspace, why not set it to being grateful for the blessings
If you can all be here,